Rhythm is the heartbeat of music. We've explored it with creating drums, bass lines, and now with chords. Your goal should be to explore as many different rhythmic possibilities as possible as you create your music. Good rhythms are not random, but rather they are tailored to the individual piece of music. So how do we know where to place our notes? There are just so many possibilities, it's hard to contain this in one short video. But we can always try. Stay tuned. Our first method is called chord change rhythm. And this is by far the easiest and the most foolproof method, which is actually what we've been doing this entire time. So if we take a look at this example, I'm going to solo bright chords, and we can see our chords listed at the top. And actually I'll just move this down so that it's easier for you to see. And we can see by the waveforms that the chords, so every time you see a block, that's a chord change. So the chords change every single time in sync with where our chords should actually change. Take a listen. So A minor, C, F. And so on and so forth. So like I said, this is what we've been doing all along. So this is kind of the most boring way to do chords. Method number 2 is called syncing. In previous lessons, when creating bass lines, we force the bass to follow the kick or to match with it. We can also sync our chords with the bass and the kick. The more that things sync up, the more powerful that rhythm becomes. And we can hear that in this example. Now that rhythm is set by the bass and the kick. And so I'll solo the bass, or the 808, so that you can hear what it sounds like. Okay, so let's take a chord instrument and let's see one that is employing this particular rhythm. So this one called mellow pad. So what we can see here is if we just take the chord track and bring it down so that it matches, what we can see is that throughout this first bar, so bar 13, the mellow pad is playing C major. Let me just enlarge this so that you can see it properly. So it's C, 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 and then it switches to A minor right on the beat right here. So take a listen. C, 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 A minor. And so what I did when I was creating this rhythm is I wanted to have a really nice big gap right here. Just kind of have a little bit of rhythm near the tail end of each chord. So it always comes in on beat 1 and then it kind of fluctuates throughout. So here you can hear what it sounds like overall. So the rhythm is ba, 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 2, 3, 4, ba, ba, 1, 2, and so on and so forth. And it just repeats that really interesting rhythm over and over again, but it's everything syncing together to really highlight that rhythm. So when creating something like this, I would lay out the kick and the bass first, and then I'd make my chords pretty much follow what they're doing. Let's take a look at method number 3. I call this even pulse. And we're gonna see this in the intro to this song. And I'll just highlight that. So there's another song that I've remixed. It's called Nice Day. So we're gonna hear a constant pulse in a couple different instruments, and I'll solo them. Okay, we also hear it in the strings. I'll create a new region. I'll put this in the verse. So let's drag our chords down. That way we can see this a little bit better. Lots of tracks to go through. Okay, there we go. All right, so our first chord is F major. So we know that F major is going to be F, A, and C. And I'm placing this on the wrong track. Let's try that again. So F, A, and C. And so we can set this up as either an 8th note pulse, a 16th note pulse. And so I'll show you what I did in this song. It's an 8th note pulse. And so I set my grid to 8 notes, and then I just simply copy that over and over and over again. So our first bar is F major. Our second bar is D minor. So I'll just play D minor, which is DFA. And of course, I'm gonna use some smooth voice leading. So I'm gonna move this up an octave. And then I'll just copy that over. So this is still D minor, even though it doesn't have D on the bottom. Okay, we can always add the root at the bottom if we want. An octave below. Okay, so I've added there's my Fs. And then D for D minor. And then our third bar and fourth bar are A minor. So let's set up A minor, which is ACE. And so here's an A, here's a C, and here's an E. And let's see the bass as well. So we get everything done in one shot. And we'll just copy that for 2 bars. There we go. So here's what this sounds like by itself. Okay, not the most graceful sound with a piano necessarily. Just kind of sounds like it's being pounded. Maybe it might sound a little bit better if we raise it up an octave. Okay, let's hear it in context of the song. Okay, so that's one way to do a pulse. We can also do a quarter note pulse. And so remember, the idea is, and I'll just delete all these. So the idea is that we're repeating the same notes at a regular interval. So in this case, every single beat. And here's my third beat. And my fourth beat. And I'll do the same thing for this. So second beat's here, third beat, and fourth beat. And then, so this is going to be a slower pulse. Second, third, fourth, first beat, second beat, third beat. So you can see how even this is. Let's take a listen to what this sounds like. You know what you see is what you find. You just keep the peace of mind. And if you don't like the gaps, you can always fill them in. So we had 8th note pulse, we had quarter note pulse, and we can also do a 16th note pulse if the song allows for it. Now this song is already kind of fast, so if we make our notes really short, This is actually not going to really allow for it. It's going to sound way too crazy. But I'll let you hear what it sounds like. It does work in some songs. So I'm just copying everything. If the song is slower, so 90s is pretty fast for a hip hop / R&B kind of beat. But if it was more like 60, then yeah, this rhythm would definitely fit a lot better. Okay, so I think it's a little chaotic for this song per se, but once again, it can work in other songs.
You know what you see is what you find. You just give the peace of my mind.
And that is what pulsing or an even pulse is all about. There is one more that we can also try to do, and let's go back to 8th note pulse. So actually, I'll just undo everything. And we'll go back to 8th notes. So there's our quarter notes. Let's get this back to 8th notes. So if you remember, on the 16th note grid, this is 1 E and 2 E and 3 E and we can actually just get away with putting this rhythm on the and only. So this rhythm also works. So see, 1 E and. So it's just on and. I mean, it's overlapping to as well, but it's playing on and. We only care where it plays, not how long it is really. Okay, so listen to this. Let me solo this so you can hear it. And here's with the metronome. 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and.
You know what you see is what you find. You just give the peace of my mind. And you know I believe in those signs. So no matter where I go, somewhere.
So those are kind of the 4 that I would look at. 16th notes, 8th notes, 8th note just on the and chord notes. Those all really work well if we want to have some sort of pulse. And so you can see examples of that in this, and I'll just highlight a couple of them as we move on. So for example, in this outrun pad, 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and. So this is following an 8th note grid. Okay, we'll see another one in the chorus. This other outrun pad that's not filtered. Let's take a look at our last method. It's called rhythmic motif. A rhythmic motif is a short rhythmic idea, usually a bar or less in length, that gets repeated over and over again. One of the most famous rhythmic motifs is from Beethoven's Fifth Symphony. It sounds like this. You can think of creating a motif just like you would a kick pattern. You don't want to choose too many spots to place the chords, but you want to also experiment where you place them. So here we have our really interesting rhythm where everything is kind of syncing up. So I'm going to create what we call a counter rhythm. So let's listen to this again. So we can see what our rhythm is. It's ba, 2 and 3, ba, ba, ba. So I have lots of room in between that first note and that faster kind of rhythm to place some extra rhythms. Okay, and so that's what we're going to do here. So let's create a little pattern, and we will cycle just these 4 bars. And the chords that we have, actually I'll drag that down as well, just so that we can see that nicely. So our chords C major, A minor, F major, G major. Pretty simple stuff. And so let's just place the chord. So C major, and then the next bar we have A minor. And then the next bar we have F major. And of course, I haven't voiced anything yet. I'm just doing the regular triad. Okay, and so what I'll do is I'll just do smooth voice leading. And just bump this bottom note up. There we go. So now we have a nice, even top note. So what I'm actually going to do is I'm not going to place anything on beat 1 for the chord. We don't always have to, because we already have so much going on beat 1 with the 808 and everything else that's following that dominant rhythm. So we're going to create a secondary rhythm, and it's going to be something that's kind of pulse-like. So it's 1, 2, and 3. Okay, so right here. Maybe too much. All right, so I'm starting this on beat 2 for every single bar. That's going to be my rhythm. Move this to beat 2 as well. Let me just copy. Copy. So I'm not sure what this is going to sound like. That's why we're going to test it. Okay, so don't love this instrument, so it kind of does sound bad. Let's choose maybe a synth or something like that. Okay, and I was actually hoping for the pattern to be a little faster. Okay, I actually kind of want it to start right there. And I want it to be 16th notes. So I'm going to lop these off, shorten these. Okay, let's see what that sounds like. And so I'm kind of just playing around with the position until I find something that I like. Okay, and so we do the same thing with this one. Going to shorten it. Going to copy that same pattern. So this goes here. It also goes here, here, gap, here. So here, here, gap, here. And for the last one, so it's a decent pattern. Here, here, gap, here. Okay, so let's hear what that sounds like. Still don't love this instrument, so let's switch it again. That might work. Okay, I think it's an octave too low, so I'm going to bring it up. I'm going to bring it way up. All right, gonna mess around with a different rhythm. So I'm going to keep listening and build it as I go. There we go. Yeah, I kind of like that rhythm. Okay, so let's do the same thing with this one over here. So we're on the 16th note grid. So gap, 1, 2, 3. Do the same thing here, so that's already in the right spot. So on the 1 E and 2 E and 3 E and 1 E and 2 E and 3 E and Okay, so here we go. So you can see, as long as we play within where the chord is, the rhythm actually, it does matter, but it doesn't matter if we place it on beat 1 or if we place it exactly when the chord changes, as long as it plays within its playpen, so to speak. All right. So when you're creating your own rhythmic motifs, think about that. If you have some gaps and you have some areas where you feel like you can fit in some extra notes, yeah, that's great. Create something and repeat it over and over and over. And that's pretty much all there is to rhythmic motifs. So I hope that was informative, and experiment with lots of different rhythms until you find ones that you really like. Stay tuned for the next one.